Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now, Monday, May 22nd. A happy Victoria Day Monday for those of you that are watching, of course, in Canada and listening in Canada. A long weekend here. The U.S. will have theirs next weekend, of course, with Memorial Day weekend. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down this Monday conference final day with just, of course, the one game. Florida hosting Carolina in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals and leading that series 2-0. Alex, how was the weekend for you? And again, now as we roll into a new week, suddenly a potential, Alex, and I mentioned this on Twitter, that the conference finals in the NHL and the NBA both could end up in sweeps. Both conference finals in both leagues could end up in sweeps. I'm still going to say that's not going to happen, though, in this league here in the NHL.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But it's just a fascinating turn of events, like you said, in both sports right now. And it's funny because this is something I wanted a couple of years ago when the summer was just kind of dragging along fast, and of course, the season was dipping into the deeper part of June and into July. Would have been nice to have a bunch of sweeps then, but now here we are with teams taking commanding leads and getting the work done. And it's different, obviously, in the NHL and the NBA. With the NHL, we're talking about, these teams that are taking these 2-0 series leads, but we're talking about super close games. All of them have gone to overtimes. And it wasn't that one team, had a tremendous effort and blew it, or, they just all kind of floated around in the middle of the game, right? Like there's just been one or two instances of a mistake happening that leads to the game-winning goal or a big situation that shifts momentum. Other than that, we've been seeing, pretty, back and forth hockey. It's been entertaining. Certainly not dull. I know a lot of people were kind of saying maybe, yesterday's game with Vegas and Dallas was a tad bit dull, but if you're really watching closely, that was entertaining. And I tweeted about it. I said, this reminds me of teams I've seen win before. It reminded me of those Hawks teams and those Kings teams. They had games and wins during those series, during those runs where, they got a couple of goals and then it wasn't that they were sitting on the lead or sitting, comfortably. They were just playing their game and taking everybody else out of it. They were wearing their opponents down, wearing the crowd down. Think about when Vegas tied the game. The crowd was, of course, electric at that moment and in the seconds afterward, but it wasn't the same kind of buzz you would see if Vegas had scored a goal, in the second period. It was just different because the crowd, you're watching playoff hockey, and I think all of us can relate to this as fans, and certainly as bettors, it can wear on you. And that crowd seemed a bit worn out by the style of play that Dallas was dictating for most of that part. One mistake leads to Vegas tying the game up, and then anything goes in OT. We've seen quick overtime goals here. It's funny, 3 quick overtime goals and then 1 4 overtime game. So that's kind of the fascinating stretch of it. But it's just exciting hockey. It's making it tough to bet on nowadays, of course. And with all the futures and different plays I have, everything looks to be in trouble. I'll be fully honest with you. Everybody knows how much I love Dallas, and as well as we've done with Dallas this postseason, everything might go up in flames as far as futures in the conference and the cup if they don't get their act together in Game 3.
Right, and that becomes definitely a must for them. We'll start there. You mentioned it, Dallas and Vegas. That was the game that took place yesterday. Another overtime game. That's 4 conference finals games and 4 overtime games here. I maybe should just be betting the draw every game. That's actually what I'm doing now. Is just going to bet this draw every single time right now, both series. I mean, and because we have just seen very little separation, the margins have been razor thin in both conference finals so far, and it's obviously played out that way with 4 conference finals games and all four of them going to overtime so far. It's like a 2x4 upside the head if you're the Dallas Stars yesterday. I mean, if you are in complete control, you couldn't have played a much better game on the road in the playoffs. I mean, you held the decisive puck possession advantage. You were in Vegas's zone more often than not. You didn't give up very much at all in terms of quality scoring chances to the Golden Knights. You played an impeccable defensive game for the most part. It wasn't even this Jake Ottinger, like we thought, midway through the third, it's going to be another Dallas win, bouncing back off a loss. But it wasn't necessarily going to be that Jake Ottinger masterpiece, because he really didn't have to be great. He wasn't very busy for much of that game yesterday. That is how well they played defensively for much of the game. Just carried the play, just gave Vegas nothing. But all of a sudden, old man Winter, Ryan Suter, decided, I'm throwing this pizza up the middle of the ice there in my own zone. It's going to get picked off. And sure enough, great pass, too, to find Marchessault for the tying goal. Just a mistake that a veteran defenseman can't make, someone that Ryan Suter's experience level shouldn't make, but he made it. And that's the unfortunate part. It ends up tied. And then, of course, in overtime, just bad tracking of the puck and just not having your man right in front of the net in terms of letting Chandler Stevenson get to that loose puck in front of Jake Ottinger. He bangs it home, and just all of a sudden in a blink, like Dallas probably doesn't know what hit him. We played a phenomenal 55 minutes of hockey on the road in game 2 yesterday, leading that game 2-1 from the mid part of the second period. And to just all of a sudden, bam, Vegas ties it off a turnover and then wins it in overtime. That's a painful loss. I don't care what anyone says. That is a very painful loss. That's a tough one to swallow if you're the Dallas Stars, considering how well you played for much of that game. And this is going to be the ultimate test of mental adversity here, Alex, for Dallas going into game 3 on Tuesday night. They need that one. You can't go down 3-0 to a team as good as Vegas. Hell, at any team at this stage of the playoffs when we're talking conference finals. These teams are too good, in our opinion, probably to come back 3-0 down at this stage of the season. So it's a must for Dallas, but they've got to be in the right frame of mind. Somehow, it may not be easy, but somehow they've got to shake that off, put it behind them, as difficult as it might be, and say, hey, we got to go win a game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen this team be resilient during the postseason. We've seen them be resilient during the regular season as well. And now they have to really bring their A+ game in game 3, and they have to do it early. They have the crowd on their side going back home, and they have to use that to rally them and get things rolling if they want to make this a series. I don't think they get swept, but they definitely, and like I said, the odds of coming back from down 3-0, especially at this point, are slim to none. But it's definitely going to be an uphill battle if they don't get off to even just a good start early in the first period of that game. So that's crucial, and maybe kind of tipping my cap a little bit to what I'm going to be playing in that game 3 tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I mean, for Dallas, definitely it is a game for them where they got to have, that's the one thing they've actually done pretty well in this series is they led 1-0 after the first period in game 1. And even the start yesterday was good, even with really the only reason it was tied after the first period was Dallas got called for 2 penalties at once to put Vegas on a 2-minute 5-on-3, which allowed them that opportunity to tie the game there. But, it's got to be frustrating too. I just had to laugh too when that game ended. Jason Robertson's finally arrived in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and now his team's down 2-0. He's probably thinking, I can't fucking win here in these Stanley Cup playoffs, right? First 2 rounds, team's winning, but I'm not doing shit offensively. The puck's just not going in for me. I'm snake bit. I'm having chances. I'm getting opportunities, and the puck is just not going in the net. And now I finally scored in back-to-back games. And isn't that how it always works, too, for a great goal scorer and a great offensive player? Just nothing for 2 rounds. And then all of a sudden scores in game 1 against Vegas and scores again yesterday in game 2, goals in consecutive games after a long drought. That's always seems to be how it works. But at the same time, Robertson's thinking, okay, I finally arrived. Stanley Cup playoffs, the alarm clock went off. My offense is coming back. I'm getting my confidence back. I'm getting my swagger back. Goals in 2 straight games. And now we're not fucking winning as a team. That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and like I said, for the fact that you get this far without your top scorer, playing like that, and like I said, now for him to show up in a crunch time, he has to continue that, right? He can't get discouraged, and he also can't look at it and say, well, anything's his fault. It's like, no, it's a full team effort, but now he's got to step up and be that true leader, that true leading scorer, and carry them, the rest of the way. We're seeing that with Tkachuk in Florida. You have to have that one guy step up. I don't care if you have 25 guys scoring at least 1 goal in the playoffs. That's not what matters. At the end of the day, you have to have those star players, the people who carried you all the way through. They have to step up in those big times, make those big moments, big goals. And JR is going to have to continue to do that, probably double up his workload, honestly, if Dallas wants a chance in the series.
Absolutely. And I think definitely Sagan's got to be a little bit more assertive. I haven't loved his first two games. He had a great chance in game one. He hit the post, but I think he's got to step up. I mean, Ben got you the tying goal in game one, so I'm okay with the way he's played, and actually had some chances yesterday. But yeah, it's just finish around the net. Not enough of it. They had chances to extend that 2-1 lead, and they could not do it. Let's give Vegas a lot of credit, though. I mean, there's a reason they beat Edmonton. There's a reason they're up 2-0 in this series. They are terrific, line 1 through 4. They're all interchangeable. They can all make an impact for the Vegas Golden Knights. That's what's so special. I mean, Teddy Bluger, scores a goal for them here in game one the other night. So, he's a fourth line player. I mean, that is why they are a dangerous team. Line 1 through 4 can make an impact. And I don't know if there's a better 1 through 6. See, that's another issue that Dallas has to overcome in this series, Alex. There's no way 1 through 6, their blue line is as good as Vegas or as deep as Vegas. You're starting to see that law firm of Harley and Hanley on the blue line for the Dallas Stars make some mistakes and have take some penalties, get hemmed in their own zone and cough up the puck. And that's the glaring difference, I think, right now in this series. And it could still be the glaring difference moving forward, is that when you look at these two teams on the blue line right now, Dallas, after you get past Heiskanen, Lindell, Miller, and Suter playing okay, but obviously just an egregious turnover yesterday. But then there's Harley and Hanley as their third pair. Vegas's third pair is Hague and Whitecloud. I'll take Hague and Whitecloud in a heartbeat over Harley and Hanley for the Dallas Stars. So that ends up being the big, concern for Dallas moving forward, is you've got this beast of a blue line here: Martinez, Pietrangelo, McNabb, Theodore, Hague, and Whitecloud. And I can't match that. I have Heiskanen, who's an all-world defenseman. I have a decent defenseman in Lindell, decent defenseman in Miller. Suter obviously had a bad giveaway yesterday, so that's not good. And then Harley and Hanley, who didn't have a great game yesterday either, or in game one for that matter. So that depth in the blue line is showing up so far in this series for the Vegas Golden Knights. And but it's not over yet. Dallas just got to go back home and find a way to win game 3 in front of that raucous crowd and get Pantera rolling early in that game.
Yeah.
That's what they've got to do. They got to get on the board early, get the crowd into it, get that goal song blaring in the arena there. And all of a sudden, I think some of that confidence will start to come back for them. Speaking of confidence coming back, as we turn our attention to tonight, game 3, Eastern Conference Finals. Will the confidence come back for the Carolina Hurricanes? Very, very similar script to the Western Finals, where Carolina probably doesn't feel like they deserve to be down 2-0 here in this series. Kind of like Dallas. They probably don't feel like they deserve to be down 2-0, but here they are in a spot now where they've got to find a way to win on the road tonight at FLA Live Arena as the Panthers return home for game 3 with a 2-0 series lead. Game 3, even money, -110. Both sides, 5.5 the total in this game. So I'll say this: Florida's up 2-0 in this series, but I've cashed a ticket in the first 2 games with the Carolina Hurricanes. Pause. First period, that is. Just to make sure we don't, confuse anybody or people think I've been drinking already today on this Victoria Day holiday. Yeah, I have cashed tickets with Carolina in the first 2 games, believe it or not, of this series, because I only took them first period in game 1. I only took them first period in game 2. And in both instances, they were leading 1-0 after the opening 20 minutes of play. And it was after that in both games where we really saw the Florida Panthers get better, get stronger, get their way back into the game, because they're just the ultimate piece of resilience right now, the Florida Panthers. They are. I mean, they just don't ever go away. They never get shaken, and they just battle their way back into games. And they got a goaltender that it obviously is doing an impeccable job keeping his team in the game. Like, again, in game 2, Bobrovsky never let that thing get to 2-0 for Carolina. Even after that onslaught, what were the shots? At one point, I think they were 16-2 or something close to that for Carolina in the first period of game 2. I mean, it was just all Hurricanes. They couldn't have asked for a better start. And if you're Rod Brindamore in the press conference, I don't blame him for being mystified. He's like, how am I going to criticize my guys for losing this game? I thought we did everything we could at the start. We were swarming Florida. We did all the right things. We had the puck. We had a bunch of chances, and we just didn't put it into the net enough to give ourselves, a little bit of a cushion early in that game. Florida, as they did in game one, got better and stronger. And that's something to notice. I mean, one game, it's, maybe not a pattern. Game two, when it happens 2 games in a row, maybe it is becoming a pattern. That just Florida gets better as the game goes on. If you remember that overtime game in game one, the marathon overtime affair in game one, the Florida Panthers were the much better team in the 4 overtime periods. They were. I mean, they got better. They got stronger. After Carolina was carrying the play for much of regulation that night, Florida was better in the 4 overtimes. And again, with the game two, Florida got better as the game went on. So that is becoming a little bit of a pattern now that we've seen with this series, is that Carolina hot start, but then the Florida Panthers end up just, getting better, digging in. Their forecheck has forced Carolina into some of the turnovers that you just don't typically see from them either. A couple of these goals, a couple of beauty goals too. I mean, that Alexander Barkov tying goal in game two is just an unbelievable goal, just faking the between the legs and then going backhand and just freezing Antti Raanta for just a moment to be able to get him to bite on that. And it ended up tying the game. And then, of course, Matthew, the power play goal, and it was a penalty. I don't want to hear Carolina fans screaming about how it's a bad call. They had to call that. It took away a scoring chance. It was a good penalty call. I always say in overtime, call it unless it's something really egregious. That one you had to call, and Florida made Carolina pay for it. I mean, the pass from Reinhart to Tkachuk, man, that was just something else. It was just perfect. Nobody could react in time. A perfect pass to Tkachuk, who fires it past Antti Raanta for the overtime winner. And that's 2 games in a row where it's let's go home, baby, as Steve Goldstein, Goldie on Ice, would say. And it's kind of like the on ice reenactment of let's go home, baby, with that Tkachuk celly following these 2 overtime games, where it's just get out the side door there, get off the ice as quick as possible, get back to that dressing room. Quite the celebration. It's funny. It's the same guy, and it happened 2 games in a row, the same celebration. So pretty incredible stuff. Look, they're 9-1 in their last 10 playoff games now, the Florida Panthers. This is a sensational run. Even in a spot where Carolina's backs are against the wall, it's the height of urgency, the height of desperation for Rod Brindamore's team. I'm not in a rush to take a certainly full game. I'm not in a rush to take Carolina. I'm not. I mean, this Florida team's just on this magic carpet ride. They can do no wrong. They're getting the goaltending of a lifetime right now from Sergei Bobrovsky. Their best players seem to score in the clutch. They're capitalizing on opportunities. Their penalty kill has suddenly gotten a lot better as the playoffs have progressed. Their forecheck has turned even a Carolina team that doesn't give up many high-danger chances. They've coughed up high-danger chances to Florida because of turnovers that the Panthers' forecheck has been able to force in the first 2 games of this series. So, it's Carolina's got to throw everything at Bobrovsky, but not a lot's getting past that guy right now with the way he has been playing. So what I'm going to do here in game 3 for a game that I'm very, very much think this is a tough game because I know for Carolina, this is a must. They're not going to be able to go down 3-0 and expect to win this series. But I'm going to go with what has worked for me in this series, and that's a first period puck line look on the Carolina Hurricanes. It's cashed in each of the first 2 games. There's no reason not to expect Carolina to once again be focused on a strong start. I know it hasn't resulted in W's here in the first 2 games, the strong first periods they've had, but you would think still they want to get that first goal, take the crowd out of it. You can get with the Carolina Hurricanes, by the way, plus 195 with them, or even plus 200 with the first period puck line. So I'm going to go for that extra bang for the buck. You could play it safe and go first period money line if you want. If you were just, in case it's tied, you'll get the push. Minus 104, minus 110 is what we're looking at for first period money line. But I'm going to go for that minus a half around plus 200 for Carolina first period puck line, which, again, they've had a lead after the first period in the first 2 games. We'll go back to that. Well, it's basically, for me, at least as far as pregame bets are concerned, Carolina first period puck line and the draw. I'm going to go back to the well with that. How can you not? It's very difficult not to with the way these games have been tight. There's been very little separation in both conference finals so far. So for me, that's going to be the 2 looks here pregame is we're going to go with the first period puck line on the Carolina Hurricanes, again, at an excellent price with that as well. Talking, upwards of plus 195, plus 200. For that Carolina first period puck line, and also going to go back to the well with the draw. And again, FanDuel usually has the best price with that, plus 360 at FanDuel for the draw. They still haven't made a huge adjustment. Think about it. There's 2 overtime games in this series and in all 4 conference finals games so far, and you can still get plus 360 for a draw at FanDuel. So pretty good price there. Alex, Game 3 East Finals. What do you think? Carolina, Florida.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, we've seen some adjustments with offshore books. I'm seeing plus 315, plus 320, plus 325. The fact that we're still getting above $3 at this point is shocking because, with the fact that you're having overtimes in every game so far, we're talking about, with these 2 teams specifically, with 5 of the last 6 now for Florida, 4 of the last 6 for Carolina. So these are teams that, if we were seeing these numbers in the regular season, we probably would be seeing that 290, 285 mark. With both of these teams in a regular, just kind of a streak fashion. And have to stress it, like I always do, you have to play the 3-way draw. Do not do the yes-no prop for overtime, because that's what I'm seeing the changes. I'm seeing plus 275, plus 280 for yes in overtime. Do not bet that. Don't cheat yourself. And at some point, you think these books would have to stop offering that big of a difference between the draw and overtime when it's literally the same thing. So play the 3-way draw, play the regulation draw. Do not play the yes/no prop. Just have to always stress that. But for Carolina, it's tough to say that they got to change something, right? Like you said, they've been jumping out to leads early, dominating the pace of play, and then just kind of breaking down. So the thing they have to change is really within the second and third periods. Maybe you kind of conserve your energy a little bit in the first to stay sharp in the second and third. And that's hard to, ask of a group, especially when you're down 2 games in the series. Want to try and get that momentum back, but it's just kind of hard. That's what Carolina's they're more battling themselves than they are Florida at this. Is trying to figure out what's going to work. For Florida, you definitely don't change anything. You just keep riding the same wave of momentum. All the momentum's on their side, right? I mean, this team's not supposed to be here at this point. Nobody expected Bobrovsky to be the guy to stand up and take over the reins the way he did. Kachuk, of course, has been playing great, but he's stepped his game up to another level as well. And Florida just got to try to find a way to dominate, play like the better team. They are the better team right now, and arguably all of the 4 teams that are still left in the playoffs. The way that they're playing with their momentum on their side, they have to really just use that and rally to that. They can get out to a big lead early and put Carolina away. Not only will Carolina be done in this game, I think that's when you start talking about a real chance of the sweep here. So for Florida to try to win this thing out in 4, they have to have a huge first period. So if you like Florida in any fashion, especially early in this game, might as well grab, it's not worth much of anything, but you might as well grab Florida for the sweep, because I think that's the difference here. If Carolina can keep it close, Florida finds a way to get a win, especially in overtime again, then Carolina's still live to get a shot in game 4. But if they can come out and dominate and establish the tempo and pace early, get 2 or 3 goals and maybe chase Anderson out of the net, have to go back to Ronta, then that's when I think Carolina is going to, we'll see the defeat in their body language and just their overall sense that, Florida will have all the control going their way. So the first period's huge. I'm staying out of this game altogether. I did grab a little bit of the draw. I've been betting the draw small this whole time, and so I haven't really upped it or tried to bump it to a full unit, because I feel like if I do that, then that's the time the streak's going to end. So I'm just keeping it small with the draw, but nothing super official. Certainly not like anything of the best bet material with this game. Just want to see what's going to happen in that first period.
You know what I find shocking about this series too, and I've got to bring it out. I thought there was definitely a defensive edge for Carolina, like blue line wise. When you look at that 6, Jacob Slavin, Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce. Gostisbehere is the one that's still a little iffy, but he's played better with Carolina. He's negated a lot of the mistakes he was known for with Philly and Arizona. And Jalen Chatfield's played pretty solid. That's a really good 1 through 6. I've been shocked, though, what Florida's gotten from their depth blue liners. We know Forsling, Ekblad, Montour have been excellent. Radko Gudas this is some of the best hockey I've ever seen him play, honestly, defensively. He's been physical. He's been blocking shots left and right. Same with Montour. They all have been, but they've all been really committed to just being strong, good gap control in the neutral zone, kind of playing the way Carolina plays, kind of giving the Hurricanes a taste of their own medicine. I think that they're kind of all playing over their heads, because I'm not sure in the course of a regular season and playoffs combined that Radko Gudas is this good, that Josh Mahura is this good. Mark Stahl, man, it's like just turn back the clock. I mean, this is staggering to me. The minutes he's playing at his age, which shows you Paul Maurice has confidence in him right now, the way he's playing at the moment, because Mark Stahl, last year was an awful year for him. Awful. But look at him now here in these playoff games. I mean, he's out there for 20 minutes, 25 minutes in a lot of these games. He's a 20 to 25 minute player right now on the blue line, which is unheard of, or unthinkable that Mark Stahl would be playing this much at 35 years old. Not only playing that much, but playing as well, as he is with all those minutes. Like, I haven't seen too many mistakes out of him. And for a guy that's kind of had a couple rough seasons, and people thought, best years are behind Mark Stahl. Man, has he turned back the clock and drinking some of that fountain of youth here in these playoffs for the Florida Panthers? That's one of the absolute keys to this series so far, and really the playoff run. Whether they've overachieved, whether they've played over their heads, maybe that's probably part of it. But if it's that or not, give them credit. The blue line of the Florida Panthers, which was thought was a huge issue for them in some of these series against Boston, against Toronto, against Carolina now, they're playing amazing as a collective.
Yeah.
And they're matching Boston or beating Boston defensively, because it was Boston's fucking blue line making all the mistakes. Toronto's blue line making all the mistakes. Horrendous coverage on the Reinhart overtime goal in Game 3 that really sunk the series for the Leafs. I still remember that. Awful. I don't know what TJ Brody was doing still on that play. And here in this series, this is probably the best group of 6 they've gone up against next to Boston here, Carolina. And Florida's holding their own against this group defensively with their blue line. And in fact, outplaying Carolina's at times, because I think Carolina's blue line's probably had a few more turnovers in this series than Florida's has had. So give Maurice and the staff credit. They've coached this blue line up, because there's no way, you look at these blue lines, Alex, on paper, there's no way anyone's going to say, I'll take Florida's 1-6 over Carolina. There's no way I'll take Florida's 1-6 over Toronto, and especially over Boston. And here's Florida's blue line outplaying all of them. Outplaying all of them so far in this series. Unbelievable job. And you can say all you want. Hey, they're playing over their heads. They never played this way in the regular season. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit at this point that they didn't play this way in the regular season? They didn't play this good. They didn't get these minutes out of Mahura. They didn't get these minutes out of Mark Stahl. They didn't get these minutes out of Radko Gudas. Who gives a shit now? They're getting these quality minutes out of them right now, and it's just making the world a difference for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing too is, like I said, someone in the chat was saying about how this is, unsustainable. You can't say that anymore at this point. We're so deep into the end that, like I said, they only need 6 wins to clinch it all. So this is still quite sustainable, honestly, the way that they're playing. And like I said, we've seen this story time and time again with different teams in the playoffs. You just get on this hot run and find ways to win. It's not, like I said, we're not going to see this team look like this probably next season. Certainly, and especially if they go on and win it all. But but what they're doing right now, they just use that team of destiny. You hear that thrown around often, but they have that feel to it. They have that kind of aura around them right now at this point.
Very comparable to one of the teams most recently that won the Stanley Cup, the St. Louis Blues. It was the final season before the pandemic, 2019. Mediocre regular season, coaching change. They ended up just barely getting into the playoffs, but they got in and they were hot going in. And look, that was a blue line too, that throughout the course of the season, they didn't play great. And all of a sudden they're playing over their heads in the playoffs. They go all the way to the Cup final, beat Boston, in 7 games. I mean, that looks like the blueprint of the Florida Panthers right now. Now, Florida's still got 6 wins to get. Let's not forget that. And 2 more wins to get in this series. We can't count Carolina out completely, but no, that's what it takes. It just takes everybody playing their peak form collectively at the same time. And that's what's happening with the Florida Panthers. Blue line 1-6, peak form collectively. Forwards, first line, second line, third line, fourth line, peak form collectively. Sergei Bobrovsky, absolutely peak form. He hasn't had this kind of form probably in 4 years, at least, in net for the Florida Panthers. So that's what it takes to go on a run and maybe win a Stanley Cup at this time of year. Everyone's got to play their best form, their peak form at the same time. And you're seeing that right now from the Florida Panthers, and it's pretty incredible to watch. This is one of the more surreal, stunning, impressive, and at the same time incredible runs I've seen just because of where they were. I mean, didn't they still need like Pittsburgh to lose to Chicago, and somehow that happened? And we're not even talking about any of this shit.
Yeah.
If Pittsburgh
We were on the betcast.
fucking stubbed their toe down the stretch, Chicago and Columbus, and some of these games that they lost that they shouldn't have, and Florida may not even be in this postseason chase when it was all said and done. So, but here we are, and it's going to be, if they finish this deal, win this series, go to the final, win the cup, this is going to end up being one of the most insane and improbable Stanley Cup playoff runs that we'll have ever seen. Honestly, I think that's where it will be when it's all said and done. No question about that. And that's in spite of the fact that Florida was a President's Trophy winner last year, which I do say, like, we know there is talent there, and this was a President's Trophy winner last year. But considering what we saw in the mess of the team and the inconsistency and the erratic play of this group for much of the regular season, this is still, if they finish the deal and they finish the job, one of the more improbable championships we'll have seen in the NHL in a long period of time. But a huge game 3 tonight. Looking forward to it. As far as the total goes, I know there's some people in the chat. I'm pumping the brakes on the over, but I'm not jumping to the under either. Let me put it that way. I'm not jumping to the under. My handicap of game 2 was that with all the fatigue factor and all the minutes on the ice for those defensemen, both sides, game 2, there'd be a lot more sloppiness with the puck and turnovers. And to me, the pace was good and there were some mistakes, but goalies were cleaning up the mistakes, especially goalie Bob in particular. So that's the problem. You've got to overcome this heroic goaltending if you're going to cash an over in this series. And that's going to be the question. Speaking of goaltending, by the way, I know I didn't mention this, but Freddie Anderson, it's not a surprise at all, back in net tonight for game 3. They just wanted to give him the 1 game rest, and it is back to him in net. And prop wise, I'm going to be careful with props, because 2-1 game the other night, that's not good if you're going to bet a ton of props. And even the shots on goal were hit or miss. So be careful with the props. But again, Barkov's the hot commodity for Florida in this series. Like I say, his offense was pretty not non-existent, but he was not a focal point offensively in the first 2 rounds. He's gotten his game back. Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, I think, are worth a look. Duclair seems to have had a bunch of chances too. And if you're going to take a shot, a little bit of a bargain bin there, Anthony Duclair up on that top line. Really, that top line's been excellent for Florida. Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Duclair. I wouldn't talk anyone, out of props involving them. I think for Carolina, here's who you point to, I think, tonight. Aho, Marty Necas. These are 2 guys that have been carrying the load offensively in particular for much of the season. If Carolina is going to win tonight and put their best foot forward, and if they're going to finally break this, what looks like at times an impenetrable wall in front of Sergei Bobrovsky, those are 2 of the guys that are going to have to do it and produce. Sebastian Aho and, of course, Marty Necas for the Hurricanes. You're seeing Faust's production slow down. Jordan Martinook, after that incredible series against New Jersey, has been pretty quiet here in the conference finals so far. I think if you're going to look at props for Carolina tonight, you focus on Aho and you focus on Necas, okay, in particular, because these are definitely the 2 guys that have been getting the job done all season for them and are going to have to in a spot like this tonight where the Carolina Hurricanes desperately need a victory. All right, there you go. That's game 3, Eastern Conference Finals, Carolina, Florida. We want to remind you there definitely will be a betcast Wednesday night because there will be obviously a game 4, Florida, Carolina. The question is, will it be Carolina back in the series and down 2-1? Or are we going to be on a betcast Wednesday night with the potential of a Florida sweep on Wednesday night, which could end up being the case? So Wednesday night, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time is going to be the start of that betcast. So make sure you join us for that, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday night. Again, if you want to join us for the betcast, DM me at Bobano on Twitter or email Bobano350 at gmail.com, and we will send you the link for the betcast before it begins. And again, live betting, commentary, drinking encouraged, the usual. And again, if you want to join us on the betcast, make sure you DM me at Bobano on Twitter or email Bobano350 at gmail.com. I believe we have we're supposed to have Nick Minerva joining us. We thought we might have to reschedule, but it looks like he's trying to join us right now as we speak. There he is. What's going on?
Sorry, guys.
What's up?
It went to spam, and I was like, uh-oh, I have no idea where to find this and that, and now I'm here. I apologize.
That's what it is. We send the link for people whenever they join us as guests on the show, and sometimes it doesn't always go right into their inbox. But there we go. That's the reason. So there we go. We got Nick with us now. Nick, good to have you. It's good that you joined. But when we did, we were going to end the show basically in like 5 minutes. So just in the fucking nick of time, but no pun intended. But, I honestly did not plan that. People say I plan this stuff with the segues and the puns and all this. No, I don't. I swear to God, I don't. But good to have you with us. Talk about, you were playing, obviously, pro this season, and also the company, Advocate Athlete, that you're running right now. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so just to touch base, I'm a defenseman. I'm a 96 born. I played in the SBHL this past year for the Birmingham Bulls. Unfortunately, I got injured halfway through the year, so had to take a step back. But luckily enough, my coaches allowed me to be on the bench and assistant coach as well and run the defensemen. So, and then I had the respect of my peers and my teammates to actually hold them accountable, which I understand that might be a weird little thing. This guy was your teammate, and now he's sitting here screaming and yelling at you on the bench. So I applaud them to listening to me and believing in what I had to give them. And in terms of the Advocate Athlete, it's about 3 months in. Thank you for asking, by the way. It's kind of a custom comprehensive hockey development and advising services. The end goal would be to build an academy and really start something there. I think that the hockey world is craving for a change in the narrative. And I believe that this company will be the jumpstart to really making that change in this world that we need.
All right. I like the mindset there. It's funny. He was on our show last year during the playoffs, Matt Carey. He's got a hockey academy right here in my backyard, Hamilton, right now going on, and it's going quite well for him. So that's definitely good. So Birmingham Bulls, right, this past season, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you know what? And this is a day, like we always do this with the player that joins us for the first time. We get the clip, we get the highlight reel, we go to the vault, we find something from their playing days, and I'm telling you right now, we found something pretty damn good as far as our guy Nick Minerva here is concerned. And let me just bring this up. But when you look at this league too, this is SPHL, right?
I've got that right. Correct.
Yeah, I've got that right. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely going to be this is a hilarious stuff. This is the kind of stuff I don't think we see enough of in hockey. This wasn't a full-on line brawl this past season, but it got a little heated. It got a little cantankerous. There was some physicality being exchanged here. And it's pretty recent, Nick. This was from the past season. It was a team I think you played for previously, Macon Mayhem, actually, against your Birmingham Bulls. And I'm telling you what, this was a nice little line brawl. And our guy here, Nick, was a big part in it. Here we go.
With a good defensive play, although now here we go. Rose got a little upset that the holding wasn't called, and an elbow came up, and now
and they just all pile in there. There's Nick number 5 there. You can see him. Just got someone in the headlock right now.
Yeah, the go-to.
Aragon there. Carson Rose, I know, is there. Hayes is there. Hayes, the former Bull, and Rose. Now look out.
Oh,
Minerva.
boy.
And then, you separate from the pack, and you take on this guy Murray.
Minerva's
now you
going.
start swinging. But we're not done, folks. I love this shit, man. This is old.
This is funny. I'm trying to avoid this stuff later in my career so I can try to show people that I don't just do this, and here we are.
I was looking for some goals, man. I swear. I was looking for some goal highlights for you.
Oh, God, yeah. They're few and far in between recently.
And then look at you separate there, and you swung him around, and then you got the tongue sticking out at him, like.
This is going to take a while to sort out.
And he's coming after you. He wants some more. He's not done with you yet. And you're giving him the old bye-bye. I'm like, goodbye. Yeah.
Minerva gets escorted to the box, and here comes.
I get paid to be the antagonizer.
And you played that role to the tits right there. No question. So, fun shit right there. Good stuff indeed. Now,
I appreciate that. Thank you. I forgot about that.
Well, the good news is, and that's the funny thing is that we've had some of our guests on. I play a random clip from their past. It's like we never forget. We find it somehow. Whatever you think you left in your past, we'll bring it back into real life here.
I love it.
But
I
that
love
was
that.
good. So I know in terms of your playing style, describe it, because I know you don't mind mixing it up, but at the same time, you also want to show to the coaches, hey, I'm more than just someone out there to ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, I guess growing up, I was always the go-to guy, so I've always had to do everything, even from the back end. I'm also undersized. With that being said, I would say, like, typically I would try to portray myself as a two-way hockey player. As I'm navigating through this aspect, I feel like I think a better word that should be honestly in the lingo of hockey is a game changer. Like, and it
Yeah.
sounds a little conceited and stuff like that, but I've had many coaches in my past, and people have seen it that, like, I find that my will is a lot stronger than a lot of people, and I found that's allowed me to have a lot of success. Whether or not first impression is a big deal, I find in hockey, and I think that negates the, and that's why I want to start this business. I think it negates the ability to give someone a chance because okay, they might have bad hands, but the guy has 25 goals, like, and you're not going to question that, but you're not going to give him a chance and to be able to showcase that ability and show you that off that first impression. I don't think that's the right thing, but that's the world we live in right now. So if anybody asked me, I would say two-way hockey player. I take extreme pride in playing defense and being positionally sound, but I think I can help push the pace offensively as well. And I've done it my whole career. I would like to think that. I'm looked at as a guy 5-on-5 that's a little more of a containing, so it takes away that I think I have a knack to be able to produce on the power play. It's just that those guys are typically the guys that are very flashy or look the part more or less. So I always try to explain it now that I'm navigating through this. It's like, okay, like you get the really high-end skill guy and then Nick Minerva. The really high-end skill guy, every 10 reps will look great every time, but may not score. Nick Minerva will screw up 3 times, fall over 3 times, might mess up 1 time, but the other 3 times it'll be in the back of the net. So in reality, I'm still up 3-0.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. But you're also going to go head over fist to score a goal. You'll go to tough areas. You'll take a pounding and try to find a way to put the puck in the fucking net, which a lot of players don't do that enough. I'm talking about you, Austin Matthews. Hello.
It's funny you bring that up. It's funny you bring that up now because I think as I'm going to get into the coaching aspect, I think a best way to describe players and like who I'm going to go after are leaders 100%, and two are the guys that like are considered dogs. And a guy considered a dog, in my opinion, right now that we're seeing evident from is Matthew Tkachuk. You look at his past and you look at his recent years. You see somebody that has won at every single level and has had success.
Yep.
Like, and the reality of the situation is, what has McDavid done? I mean, is he one of the most elite? Is the most elite hockey player there ever has been? Alex Ovechkin had to learn the hard way. He need to incorporate defense within his game to be able to pay the ultimate price, and that's to win. And I think that some of this stuff takes away from how kids should approach the game of hockey. Like, yeah, it's one thing to be so offensively minded and so great. I think we play the game to win. We don't play the game to make millions of dollars. And if that's your prerogative, okay, I get that. But it should be to be winning at all costs. That's why you play the game. That's why you grew up playing it. So
we've got some concerns with a handful of players, maybe with that mindset in the NHL. I want the bag. I want to get fucking paid. Winning is, the second thought. That's everywhere I find in a league like the NBA, where it's just it's insanity. And I know Barkley has just been sounding off on people for resting and load management in that league, and just you got a hangnail, and all of a sudden you're out and not playing one night in the NBA. It's just absolutely fucking absurd. That those guys just they'll take a night off at any length, basically. But no, there's a price you have to pay to win in the playoffs. You got to take punishment. You got to dole out punishment as well. And you've got to find a way to just, go that extra mile. You got to play a 200-foot game. You've got to be relentless in puck pursuit. And there's for the floaters of the National Hockey League, that's not a good thing for them. Because you've got to be able to play at both ends of the ice, and there's not always that commitment. And I think if in the case of McDavid, and especially in the case of Matthews and Martin, those Leaf guys that keep falling short, there's that issue with that commitment to be able to do that and consistently for 60 minutes, not do it for one shift and then not do it the next shift, because that one shift you don't do it, the puck's in the back of your net. And that's what
Yeah.
happened in one game for Toronto against Florida in the last
Mhm.
round, game 2, when they had that great first period. 2 bad shifts where they coughed up the damn puck at their own blue line, and it ended up in the back of their net. By the way, that is stuff that the advocate athlete folks will not teach to their
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, another prime example. I know you guys watch a lot of hockey. Last year, for example, Calgary was playing Edmonton.
Yeah.
I watched Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid literally take the full reins and come back and tie the game up down 6-3 to make it 6-6. I applaud them. I couldn't even believe what they did. It was amazing to watch it. The next shift after they tied that game up, they blew the zone and left them be a 5-on-3 and got scored on and got sent home. That's the problem. Like, you just did all that work to get back into this game, and then you blew the zone just to try to score another goal to win the game, and it ultimately backfired, and now you're sent home. And then everybody's scratching their heads like, why can't you win hockey games? It's the goaltending's fault. It's the defense's fault. Come on, you're the best player in the world, and you're the captain. You should be able to show the ropes. You're the leader. You're the guy guiding the ship who's showing the narrative of how it should be done, and then everybody else should follow.
100%. I can't argue with any of that. And that's what it's going to take. It's that, the general leads and the troops will follow. Okay.
Mhm.
That's the way this thing works. And if they see, the superstar players giving you that effort, not making those mistakes without the puck, then the rest of the team's going to say, you know what, that's the way we have to play too, in order to win and be successful. But you don't always see that, unfortunately. Let's get your thoughts on the conference finals,
Okay.
Nick. Just first of all, Vegas, Dallas. Vegas up 2-0 in that series. What do you think of how it's gone so far?
I thought it's gone pretty well. I think, being in overtime, and it's a great series thus far. I think Vegas is going to take it. I think they have the right depth and the right guys at the moment. I think were hungry for success after their first year, so they're continuing to be hungry. Within that being said, I think some of the superstars on the other side in Dallas, you're not hearing a lot of them, right? You're hearing more of these younger guys that are coming through the ranks right now that are being the studs. And then I think if they want to have that overall success, you're going to need to start hearing those other guys' names, not to mention any names, Ben and Sagan. But they need to start showing up and do what it takes and be that leader to show everybody else.
That's true. And a great point by Sancho in our chat. We'll put the comment up on the screen right now. It's actually true. I never thought of this, but it's actually kind of right. Don't ever take Dallas to win anything. And then after that, Cowboys fan. Yeah. Yeah. Dallas has had a bit of a tortured recent sports history. I mean, the Cowboys stink. Or just have never been able to get over. I shouldn't say stink. That's a little harsh, but a little rough. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. And they've had some playoff years. They just can't get over the hump. But still, it's not been good enough because that's the marquee franchise there. Mavericks, have flamed out this year. Luka and Kyrie Irving was supposed to be this big, contending team. They didn't even make the fucking playoffs. It was a disgrace from their standpoint. Texas Rangers have had some down years. A little better this year.
Good night now.
Yeah, looking pretty good. But again,
11-15. Yeah.
We win a championship. They got close that St. Louis World Series. And then, of course, now the Dallas Stars, who, they've been playoff teams many years, but still, that's now 24 years and counting since their only Stanley Cup. Yeah. So Dallas sports is not this picture of success and picture of winning, and winning tradition. That's for damn sure. And Alex can speak to that, Nick. Alex is living right now, I should say, in Minnesota. So if any Minnesota people know what it's like not to win anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just losses after losses, and in tragic fashion too. It's not necessarily just the the fact that they're losing, but the way that they lose up here is.
If it makes anybody better, I'm a Jets, Mets, Nets, and Islanders fans. I haven't had much success in my loophole either.
Yeah, New York Jets. You got Aaron Rodgers now. Let's see how that goes. Mets. I don't know. The Mets are the debacle, right? I can't believe that they're doing this. They're this bad so far this year with everything they've got going for them roster wise, with Buck, managing them, obviously. And then you mentioned the Islanders. That's a, tough first round exit for them. So it's been and then who was the other one?
Nets.
There you go. The Nets. Oh, Brooklyn Nets. There you go.
Yeah.
Who have just basically dismantled the entire fucking operation. So they're going to be, rebuilding now for a period of time, jettisoning Durant and Irving. Who it's funny with Durant and Irving. It's almost like those guys went to Brooklyn and say, we're going to get paid and we're going to do everything we can to not even earn a quarter of our pay. With absences, with injuries, with just drama. with just not playing, not being ready to go every single night, especially with Kyrie and then the injuries to Durant. I mean, it's just one thing after another. The thing turned into a debacle. Steve Nash wasn't a great selection as coach. Jacques Vaughn was put in a tough. I actually don't mind Jacques Vaughn, but he's in a tough spot. They never should have fired Kenny Atkinson going back years ago. That's their issue with the Nets. So, yeah, that's a tough little quartet of sports teams for you to be rooting on there, Nick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of that, it's funny about the coaches. I mean, it's funny to see like 3 of the 4 coaches that are in the Stanley Cup Finals right now. They seem to be the ones that are always having the success, and yet they don't win the Stanley Cup. But then they get fired, and then they go to a new team, and then they're right back in the Final Four.
Yeah, exactly. But look at Paul Maurice, look at Pete DeBoer, look at Bruce Cassidy. Here are the 3 of the 4 coaches that are still standing here in the conference finals. How about the game tonight, Nick? We'll put the display back on the screen. Game 3, Florida, Carolina. Like I said, -110 even money. What do you think here? 2-0 Florida leading. Do they make it 3-zip tonight? What do you think?
I believe so. I think the Matthew Tkachuk train is a real thing right now. I think that he is not naive to that people are rooting for him within the media, and I think he likes that clout, and I don't blame him. I mean, if you can be cocky and confident at the same time and be able to show up and back it up, I mean, go for it. And he's doing an excellent job, and you're seeing a leader in the making, and I applaud him. I think that he's going to continue to lead that way, and I think they're going to win today again. I think it's going to be a close game again because it's been close the whole time.
Yeah.
But being at home and stuff like that, it's going to be it's a tough task for the Hurricanes. I wish them luck. Do they still play man on man? I haven't really.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They should negate that.
What the thing is, Nick, we said it just before you joined us. We said this about the Florida blue line. On paper, they're not supposed to be able to match Carolina's blue line. No way. When you look at Pesce and Slavin and Brady Shea and Brent Burns, they're terrific blue line 1 through 6. Florida, after Montour and Ekblad and Forsling even, there's supposed to be a huge drop-off. Mark Stahl had a horrible year last year and didn't even play great earlier this year. And he's supposed to be an older guy, his best days behind him. He's playing great. I've never seen Radko fucking Gudas play better than he is right now.
And it's amazing.
He's been amazing. Josh Maher.
That's what Will does.
Yeah, They weren't supposed to be as good depth-wise on the blue line as Carolina or as Toronto or certainly as Boston in the first round. And here they are. Those 6 defensemen are playing over their heads. And I know there's still some detractors for Florida's run, Nick. They're saying, oh, but these guys were shit earlier this year. Last year they didn't play great. Who cares? They're playing over their heads now. And they're playing great now. And that's all that matters. Yeah.
You just got to get to the dance.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're seeing right now. By the way, so Nick likes Florida. What I also failed to mention when I mentioned this game and that I like Carolina in the first period, just like I did in game 1 and game 2. It cashed for me in game 1 and game 2. I'm going to go back to it tonight, Carolina in the first period. What I also mentioned on Saturday was I thought it would be worth a look that if Carolina first period cashes in game 2, which it did, I would look at the intermission, at the first intermission, I'll bet the draw and Florida. And sure enough, what happened? The draw cashed and Florida came back and won in overtime, and Florida would have cashed as well. I would recommend that tonight too. It's not bad. Until Carolina shows they can be good in the second period and in the third period of a game in this series. If Carolina's leading after the first period tonight, I'm probably going to hit the same 2 bets. Draw and Florida live in the first intermission. I think that's not a bad option. It worked in game 2, and maybe it can work again here tonight. Great stuff, Nick. Like I say, better late than never. Joining us here on the show. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. You should do more podcasts. You got the energy like me, so that's good stuff. All right, great stuff. We'll be back, though, to wrap things up. We got best bets coming up. We'll get to those in just a moment, right after we hear from our 2 great sponsors, Gramco and Manscaped.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Gramco. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta-8 THC products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta-8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta-8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. And if you visit www.thegramco.com. Use promo code IceGuys. You will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there, and it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code ICEGUYS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we're back, and it is time now for best bets to wrap it up for this edition of the Ice Guys. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, like I said, not crazy about anything with tonight's game, but the one thing I do have in pocket, like I said, it's smaller than usual, but I'm on the draw. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've seen 4 of them in a row in this conference finals, and this is definitely the series where I can feel it, still being tight, still being a very close kind of a battle, and will probably take a little longer than 60 minutes to get it done. So you can get plus 315 and as high as plus 360 at FanDuel. 315 was the price that I was able to secure. So we'll go with the Canes and Panthers to go into overtime yet again. That'd be the best bet for Monday.
All right, there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 4 conference finals games, 4 overtime games. So far, Alex says the draw plus 360 for his best bet tonight, Florida, Carolina. I do want to mention, if you had bet the draw in all 4 games, let's say 1 unit, equal amount, $100, you'd be up at least over $1,200 right now. That's really something if you had bet all 4 draws. So $1,200 profit at least. If you had gotten plus 360 or so at the FanDuel Sportsbook on these 4 draws so far, you're probably up, closer to $1,300, $1,400 even on the draws so far in the first 4 games. So, yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The margins are razor thin, that fucking thin right now with these 2 teams on both sides, the East and the West. So the draw, probably worth a look. Nick Minerva, like I say, thanks for joining us. Like I say, don't worry about the issues and being late and all that. It's kind of I got to make sure. I should have let you know too. It sometimes doesn't always go into the main inbox. The link.
No
but
worries.
Good stuff.
It was also my fault.
All good, but better late than never. Look, there's only 1 game tonight. I know you like Florida, so go ahead, make that your best bet, I guess.
Yeah, that's going to be my best bet. And if there's anything down the line, Matthew Tkachuk for MVP. Lock it in.
Constable. It's him or Bobrovsky right now, for sure, for Florida. There's no question. If they win the Stanley Cup, Conn Smythe will either go to Matt Tkachuk or Sergei Bobrovsky, goalie Bob, as we like to call him. So Nick liking Florida here, minus 110 tonight. And my best bet for this one, I'm going to go with Carolina here. So a little something different. Alex likes the draw. Nick likes Florida full game. I'm going to go with Carolina first period puck line. And again, you can get -0.5, plus 195 to plus 200. With the Hurricanes, first period puck line, I say for the third straight game, they will lead after the first 20 minutes of play. So Carolina first period puck line for me for best bet. All right, that's a wrap. Nick, thanks for joining us on the show today, and we wish you well, and we wish you good luck too with the company you start.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to probably doing this again. Thank you so much for including me and thinking of me. I really enjoyed this time, and yeah, thank you again.
Absolutely. By the way, you do have a Twitter account. I'll mention that too, and it's at NitroNick_96. So there you go. Yep. NitroNick_96. That's Nick on Twitter, and also he'll be tweeting a lot of his the work that he's doing as well from that Twitter account for Advocate Athletes. So make sure you check that out. Great stuff. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, for our special guest, Nick Minerva, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll see you again tomorrow. On Tuesday, a double dose of guests tomorrow. Nikita Kashersky joining us. Sammy P., Chicken Dinner joining us tomorrow. So a great Tuesday show on tap. Make sure you join us for it right here on the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now.